Who allowed fuel tanks to be installed in our wellhead protection area? The answer to that question will take a minute to explain.
Prohibited uses, recommended by the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission for adoption, specifically, in Raymond, were removed prior to a vote by the citizens. Residents that thought they were voting for the recommended protections didn't know the real protection was stripped from the recommendation as recorded in the minutes of Planning Board meeting November 18, 2010. Only one member stood up to fight for Raymond, but one voice was not enough. Our current town manager Ernie Creveling felt compelled at that time to call the board's attention to, quote, several areas of question within the amendment, unquote. Changing the recommendation from prohibited to conditional made fuel stations allowable in the wellhead protection zone. Who suggested the alteration to Ernie and why did he intervene with the board? Specifically, he was concerned about lines 7 and 8 regarding the siting of fuel stations. The argument must have been convincing because after discussion the board chaired by Jonathan Wood voted 5-1 to change the recommendation. In addition to voting against altering the recommendation, Doug also tried to insulate the Planning Commission from this decision and also voted not to put the gutted amendment before the voters. If the board had listened to Mr. Vogel then, we would not be watching fuel tanks being sunk within the perimeter of our wellhead protection zone now. What is the plan to protect our drinking water wells 500 yards down gradient from a spill or a fire? What is the plan to protect the aquifer in the event of catastrophe? What about just the normal use without any major calamity? Accumulation of small events can have an impact over time regardless if there is a major spill event. The voices that spoke loudly in 2010 and refused to prohibit fuel stations, even when specifically recommended to do so, should be the ones to now answer for their decisions.